Amidst the ongoing bird flu epidemic that has pushed egg prices to new records, you will be pleased to hear we've got a new person in charge of food safety at the FDA. It's this guy hugging the dead bird on the left, a Florida lawyer who just happened to be a hunting buddy and beard bros with Donald Trump Jr. You see them there together. They look happy. His name is Kyle Diamantis, we think. It's hard to find any record of pronunciation. And he will be responsible for ensuring the safety of about 80% of the nation's food supply. Now, his only relevant experience appears to be advising food companies and litigation against government regulations he is now set to oversee. This is happening within days of Donald Trump firing the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown, a black man who's a four-star general with over 40 years of military service, who you can see here, seated on the left in this photo of all the Joint Chiefs a few months ago. Trump also fired the head of the Navy. Let's see if you can see which one that is. Yes, that would be Admiral Lisa Franchetti, a 30-year veteran who commanded at every level and served in every fleet, and who you can see standing in the back. This is the wall of the photos of all the Joint Chiefs at the Pentagon yesterday. Do you notice who's missing? The one black man and the one woman. A hunting buddy of Trump Jr. is hired as an eminently qualified black man and woman who've served their country for decades are fired. What we're seeing from this administration is literally an inversion of a merit-based system into a spoil system for cronies and buddies of Trump and his kids. As Adam Serwer writes, much of the chaos, lawlessness, and destruction of the past few weeks can be understood as part of the administration's central ideological project, restoring America's traditional hierarchies of race and gender. Call it the Great Resegregation. Adam Serwer, staff writer at The Atlantic, joins me now. Adam, I really like this piece and the way that it framed what we've seen. What's your sort of major argument here about what I think is too charitably or credulously characterized as anti-DEI or anti-diversity moves by the Trump administration?
Well, I think, the left did all this analysis about racial inequality persisting because of structural factors. And I think the right essentially said, well, that's good. We should not only keep those factors in place, we should keep anyone from analyzing or teaching about them. And we should dismantle anti-discrimination law while we're at it, just to make sure that people who have been historically disfavored or historically judged as inadequate for getting jobs, regardless of their qualifications, should not be able to get those jobs. They want to take away the ladder of upward mobility for people they don't believe should have it. And generally that means women and people of color. Now, look, if you happen to be an extreme Trump toady, then they'll take a second look at you, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the point here about this sort of resegregation, there's a historical resonance here, and one of the sort of periods we always forget, because the way we're taught civil rights struggle and the struggle for black freedom particularly is as a kind of like continuous upward slope. But Woodrow Wilson came into office and resegregated federal employment after it had been desegregated. In fact, it was one of the big accomplishments of the Reconstruction Republicans in the era was a federal government that was actually not segregated, and Wilson resegregated it.
Well, I think you need to remember, Chris, is that, so much of private sector employment depends on network effects. So the federal government has really been a tremendous ladder of upward economic mobility for black people in America because the anti-discrimination protections are very strictly enforced, and it doesn't depend on who you know. You can work hard and work your way up. And so it's no coincidence that these stereotypes about federal workers being lazy, even though the data doesn't back that up at all, have come out, these stereotypes, and that they're being used to justify destroying what is an effective ladder of upward mobility for historically disfavored groups that, are, again, judged not on their merit, but on the color of their skin.
Yeah, and there's an irony here, which is that the actual system of civil service protections in the federal government are what's called merit protections. The whole idea is that it actually is a system that protects people based around their qualifications to do the job, as opposed to, did you go hunting with the president's son, which is another alternate form of figuring out who to hire.
Right. I mean, the only merit aspect of the Trump administration's hiring is how good you would be at licking the dirt off of Donald Trump's boots. Other than that, it really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you can do the job, which is ironic, or maybe not so much ironic, but it's deliberate. They keep talking about how they will be colorblind or merit-based. And what we see in terms of their hiring is the opposite of that. They are color conscious, and merit is irrelevant as long as you are a Trump toady.
Yeah, that color conscious point, which you make in the essay, I think is important. Like the symbolism of firing C.K. Brown, General Brown, and the sense of headhunting prominent women and people of color, black folks particularly, to kind of send the message, like, you are not welcome here. You're not. We don't want you at the highest levels.
That's right. What they're saying is it doesn't matter if you're twice as good because you're not the kind of person we want.